Hi there, it's your boy Clarence, and here we are again talking about the Nintendo Switch games that are on sale right now, recommending you good games that are worth your time. We will be covering the UK, EU, US, Australia, and Canada regions. But first and foremost, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you want to see more of this series, please hit that like button, remember to subscribe to the channel and ring the bell to receive future notifications. Likes and subscriptions help keep the channel alive. First on the list is Steve Jackson's Sorcery. Steve Jackson's Sorcery is similar to the choose your own adventure books in that you can play it over and over to try to find all of the different paths. Steve Jackson's Sorcery is similar to Inkle's later games in that it can be played repeatedly and is a must try for anyone who is even remotely interested in adventure games. If you like Inkle's other games like 80 Days, Heaven's Vault, or Overboard, you'll enjoy Steve Jackson's Sorcery. The developer's transformation of these already memorable game books into larger, more interactive adventures is nothing short of amazing, and there will be plenty of reasons to play them again and again. The games run flawlessly on the Switch and the price is extremely reasonable for what you get. Fans of role-playing games should take note, as the games are also very good at this. Next is The Longest 5 Minutes. The Longest 5 Minutes take the best and worst of old school RPG nostalgia and puts its own spin on it. Fans of RPGs will want to play it because of the great music, cute sprites, and intriguing story structure. It's a clever mix of sadness and humor, and it's set up in an unusual way for a JRPG. Most games in this genre have an end boss that you must defeat in order to win. The Longest 5 Minutes is a love letter to the JRPG genre that reminds you that you should also enjoy the journey. I gained a new appreciation for the spirit of adventure in JRPGs after playing this game. Next up, The Outer Worlds. The Outer Worlds is a good game that works well on the Nintendo Switch. The story remains the same, as does the dark humor. Despite the fact that the Joy-Cons aren't the best way to play a first-person shooter, the game works well in handheld mode. There are pop-ups and slow load times in the game, but they aren't too bad. Overall, it's a good package, particularly for people who want to play games on the go. On Switch, both graphics and performance are clearly inferior. If you can get past that, The Outer Worlds has fantastic characters, intriguing side quests, and a lot of player freedom. All of these features are still available on the Nintendo Switch. Anyone who enjoys RPGs should play this one. The Outer Worlds on Switch is pure role-playing on the go. For the cost of some low-resolution textures, you can transport an entire galaxy wherever you want. Next is Borderlands Legendary Collection. The Borderlands Legendary Collection contains 3 games that are nearly perfect. There may be some back and forth, and as you progress from one game to the next, you'll notice that the series hasn't changed all that much. Still, if you enjoy looting and shooting, you can't go wrong with this one. The Switch versions of these games also include gyro aiming, which adds a new dimension to the gameplay. It goes without saying that the Borderlands Legendary Collection is fantastic. It's fantastic whether you're a fan of the series or just curious about it. There are numerous games in the collection that shooter fans will enjoy. When played alone, the Switch combines a ridiculously addicting grind with the true pick up and play features. Prepare for long, intense sessions of full crazy jokes and action-packed quests if you have a few friends who also enjoy the games. I enjoyed some Borderlands games, but now that I've seen how adaptable portable loot and shoot games can be, I'm not sure I want to play the series any other way. Next is Nova 111. Nova 111 starts out fairly simple, but the difficulty creeps up on you as enemies, environmental hazards, and survival tools become more complex as you progress. Finding a happy medium between a tactical combat simulator and a light and simple strategy game. Depending on your level of experience and confidence, you may get quite far before things get complicated for you. But I'd bet that most people will feel the sting of a challenge at some point as the game becomes more difficult. Your success is determined by where, when, and how you move in relation to your surroundings, as well as how you'll use your weapons and skills. The further you progress, the more minor errors or hesitations can cost you. Nova 111 isn't perfect, but it's a good choice if you want a mix of action and strategy at a reasonable price. Next up, Void Terrarium. Rarely does a video game brings up existentialism and make the player reflect on their own life with a very little dialogue. The emotional bond between the two main characters who never speak to each other was breathtaking. The inversion of real pet toys was a clever irony that was well executed. The setting, atmosphere, atmosphere and story were the best parts of the game. The actual dungeon crawling was average, but having the girl back at home who need constant attention added a much needed sense of tension. Its ability to elicit deep thoughts about duty, life, and fun distinguishes it from many other games. Void Terrarium is a game that is both beautiful and sad, dark and hopeful, and players keep coming back for more despite the fact that it can be frustrating at times. Most video games require the player to save the world or defeat groups of bad guys. Void Terrarium, on the other hand, is about caring for a single person and is far more interesting than most games in its genre. Next is Okinawa Rush. Okinawa Rush is a fantastic homage to games such as Shinobi, Kung Fu Master, and Ninja Gaiden. It has elements of 1990s beat 'em ups and platform games. Because it is very cool and has a great look and sound, the Miller Brothers game gives a little uppercut. Sokaiden features stunning 2D graphics and dynamic animations. It also has an ingenious progression system and a plethora of intriguing ideas. This little nugget can be played with a friend and will bring back memories for many old school fans. When I first started playing Okinawa Rush, its fast-paced, powerful battles drew me in. There isn't much of a story or a great soundtrack, but the combat sound design is excellent, and each hit feels like it could crush a head. Okinawa Rush is the game to play if you want a dark, bloody brawler that will make you feel like a badass. Next up is Sid Meier's Civilization 6. Firaxis Games did an excellent job of porting Civilization 6 to the Nintendo Switch. Even though the PC version of Civilization 6 has better graphics and controls, you won't be able to put it down once you start playing on the Switch. It has the same addictive gameplay as the rest of the series and is a great game for both new and old Civilization fans. If you've never played the series before, Civilization 6 on Switch is an excellent place to begin. It's always fun to watch and influence how the world evolves, and the fact that this game can be played anywhere makes it a great way to pass the time. It's unfortunate that you can't play online, but the core game works great on the handheld and I had a lot of fun with it. Next up, BioShock The Collection. BioShock The Collection is well worth the price, especially since it is playable on the Nintendo Switch and includes BioShock, BioShock 2, and BioShock Infinite, as well as their DLC. They're old games, but they're full of fun stuff, and have been remastered to improve the overall experience. This collection provides 3 distinct ways to enjoy the collection. Each one takes you on a unique journey that you'll remember for years after you've finished it, both in games and in real life. You'll always wonder if what you're seeing is real. Don't pass up the opportunity to play this game. If you want to play BioShock The Collection for the first time or on the go, you can't go wrong with the Switch port. The stories of each game are as compelling today as they were years ago. Indeed, BioShock Infinite, which examines racism and struggle against inequality and injustice, may be even more powerful now. Next is Poison Control. This adorable little game is a real treat once you figure out how to play it. You are the main character, and you are running around hell while a small poison-eating demon woman uses your body to rid the world of poisonous bugs. It's a strange mix of a third-person shooter and a dungeon crawler, and I'm not sure what your poison demon does. The game becomes a little creepier as it progresses, but it's still a light, enjoyable way to pass the time. If you enjoy watching passive-aggressive girls compete and having unique experiences that aren't too difficult, check out this game and play through the first 3 levels. When I died about 15 times on level 3, I was furious. I had no idea how to play this game, so I watched a YouTube playthrough. After that, I got it, and it was a lot of fun to play with a lot of comedy and a light-hearted approach. Next is OlliOlli World. OlliOlli World, like its predecessor, is a 2D skateboarding game that is a lot of fun and keeps you going. OlliOlli World has a fantastic level design, stunning graphics, and a fantastic soundtrack. Its levels encourage players to take risks and be creative, resulting in a game that looks great on both TV screen and the Nintendo Switch screen. After playing the first 2 OlliOlli games, I was pleased with the results, but I wasn't begging for more. Then there's OlliOlli World, which surprises me because my time with it was not only enjoyable but easily the most enjoyable I've had with the series thus far. Skating is still as difficult and enjoyable as it has always been, and the addition of a story, characters, and other elements only enhances the experience and world of OlliOlli. This skateboarding game will have you grabbing your board and preparing to shred. Next is Alder's Blood Definitive Edition. Alder's Blood reads like a love letter to a genre that is underappreciated these days. There are plenty of turn-based strategy games on every platform, but games this well crafted are rare in the indie space, and it will be a long time before something as well designed as Alder's Blood in the eShop. Alder's Blood has everything it requires. The gameplay is enjoyable, control, and there are numerous ways to play that keep things interesting. However, because the wind has such a large impact on the difficulty, it can be extremely difficult to complete a quest when the wind is bad. When you combine that with AI that doesn't always work as it should, you get a package that falls a little short of the lofty expectations. With a few minor tweaks, this could be a really interesting take on the Bloodborne formula. Next is Lapis Labyrinth. Lapis Labyrinth is a roguelite with everything a roguelite should have. There will be a lot of simple but interesting hack and slash action. The 8 playable classes have a diverse set of skills and gameplay options. It's a lot of fun to put them in a team and figure out how to get them to work well together. The frame drops are annoying, but skilled play can mitigate them slightly. Lapis Labyrinth nails the combat loop and reward system, resulting in a dungeon crawler that will appeal to both experienced players and those who have never played one before. A few minor technical issues could be addressed, but aside from that, this is an excellent game that belongs on your Switch. Nippon Ichi Software has figured out how to make games that aren't too boring or frustrating. Lapis Labyrinth is a captivating blend of 2D exploration and combat. It has a lot of color and complicated systems, but it never gets boring even after a 20-hour campaign. Next is Tanuki Justice. Tanuki Justice just makes me happy. It's the second game I've played by Storybird Studio, and it's a great throwback to the past, just like the first. Yes, it's difficult and at times cruel, but it's also a lot of fun. It becomes a better game as a result of a few modern touches, such as the ability to replay stages in any order after beating them or with another player. If you like things that look old but are new, this is a great holiday treat. The 8-bit graphics are extremely detailed with vibrant colors and smooth animations that bring the backgrounds and animation to life. Tanuki Justice does an excellent job for making me forget I'm playing on Switch because it feels like I'm playing an NES game, but the shoot 'em up portion of the game brings it up to date. Guys, we have a big problem. 88% of you guys are not yet subscribed to the channel. If you are enjoying the videos and not subscribed yet, why not? You're coming back anyways. With all that said, let's get back to the video. Next is Superliminal. Superliminal is an invigorating breath of fresh air. It's the kind of game you want others to play but don't want to discuss until you've both played it. A package that doesn't appear to be much at first glance, but when you open it up and discover how it wants you to view the puzzle, you'll be surprised and pleased. Superliminal is currently one of the most inventive games available on the Nintendo platform. Its moral gives us all hope at a time when we could all use a fresh perspective. Overall, I had a good time with Superliminal. I'd recommend it to anyone looking for a quick puzzle game that isn't too difficult. As long as you're not looking for cutting-edge graphics or a compelling story, I think this is a lot of fun. You'll have to deal with logic that sounds like it came from a nightmare. Next up, Dungeons of Dreadrock. Dungeons of Dreadrock is an excellent game because it knows exactly what kind of experience it wants to provide and delivers on it admirably. There are 100 puzzle levels, each with its own mechanics and solutions that become more difficult as your character progresses deeper into the mountain. The game also has a charming story and excellent 32-bit animation. There is some action, but it's mostly a matter of timing that aids your mind in figuring out how to solve the puzzles. It's difficult to stop playing, but each level provides plenty of opportunities, so you can play as many levels as you want in a row and then easily pick up where you left off. The only drawback is that once you've completed all 100 levels, your time is up, but it was well spent. Dungeons of Dreadrock features amusing enemies, inventive puzzles, and an engaging story. It's entertaining to play alone or with others. Next is Labyrinth of Refrain. Coven of Dusk. Coven of Dusk has become one of my favorite tRPGs because of the attention to detail, the amount of trust it has in the player to make their own choices even if they are bad ones, and the respect it has for the players to figure out its secrets on their own. Coven of Dusk isn't the perfect game, but if you're looking for a hardcore tRPG with a lot of depth, its journey will not disappoint. The true ending must be discovered in a difficult to decipher manner, and the user interface could use some improvement. It's amazing how you build up characters and use them in battle. Everything you do to prepare makes you feel important and prepares you for what comes next. Some criticism could be leveled at the story structure and the scarcity of enemies, but this is minor in the grand scheme of things. The game knows what it wants to be, and I had no problem playing it for more than 100 hours to see it all. If you want a game that will keep you entertained, Labyrinth of Refrain is a good choice. Next is Golden Force. Golden Force is an excellent action platformer with some of the most exciting boss battles I've seen in a long time. Golden Force will both surprise you and entertain you. It has excellent combat and combo mechanics as well as 4 distinct islands to explore. Golden Force is a lot of fun to play because of its good level design, entertaining combat system, and simple difficulty. It may not be revolutionary or transform the way its genre operates, but it's a lot of fun to play. It's not a completely novel way to play games, but it's an excellent one. Golden Force is a challenging and enjoyable game that we can play alone or with others. A fun game for those who have previously played similar games. Even though it's brief, it's a great title if you like the concept. Golden Force is a fun and varied 2D action game, but it's extremely difficult to beat, so you'll need a lot of patience. Next is Mad Rat Dead. Mad Rat Dead is a game with a lot of heart, both literally and metaphorically. The game has a great soundtrack and unique gameplay compared to other rhythm games. It also has a unique style that no other game has. It's time to feel the beat and fall head over heels for Mad Rat Dead. Mad Rat Dead would be a strong platformer even without the rhythm mechanics because of its crazy story and stylish graphics. But thanks to the fantastic soundtrack, it feels like a completely new experience, despite the fact that it isn't the first game to combine platforming and rhythm. It can be difficult at times, but with the rewind feature, it's a fairly simple game to play in general. You can simply lose yourself in the music and perform those sick moves. Mad Rat Dead is a fantastic combination of a rhythm game and a platformer. It has fluid gameplay and an incredible soundtrack, making it a truly one-of-a-kind experience. Next up, Tales from the Borderlands. Tales from the Borderlands is a game that shows how much time has passed since it was released, but the unique blend of a point-and-click adventure and a looter-shooter still has an undeniable charm. Tales from the Borderlands is a graphic adventure that, despite its flaws, is recommended for fans of the genre and of Borderlands. This is due to the high-quality writing and the ability to combine so many different game worlds in a straightforward manner. Everything you remember about Tales from the Borderlands is true. The characters are believable and the plot is compelling enough to keep you playing until the end. This port could have been benefited from a few updates or even just keeping the choice summaries, but at the end of the day, it's a game I'll keep playing for years to come. Next up, Disgaea 5 Complete. Because it has features that make it easier to play than previous games in the series, Disgaea 5 Complete is a natural fit for the Switch. The fact that the Switch can be taken anywhere emphasizes these features. Even though it was already a fantastic SRPG on its own, the DLC that was added to the main game improved it for a series veterans while giving new players a few minor disadvantages. Disgaea 5's strategic depth and genre-savvy charms makes it an excellent addition to any Switch library. It can be played at home or on the go. Disgaea 5 Complete is an excellent addition to the Nintendo Switch game library. It was a lot of fun to bring this time-consuming tactical RPG with me. I don't always want to stay at home and play a video game for 80 hours. The plot of the game occasionally feels like a soap opera, but it's even more entertaining to watch the silly characters acted out. My only piece of advice is to bring your Switch charger because you'll need it. Next up, Yomawari, Lost in the Dark. Yomawari Lost in the Dark is the third installment in the Yomawari horror game series. It appears cute, but it's actually quite frightening. There are numerous jump scares to keep you on edge. Fans of J-horror will probably enjoy how slow and moody the game is. The story is simple, but it works, and the manner in which it is told is so unique that you won't be able to take your gaze away from the screen. Just don't take your gaze away from them. When it's dark, you never know what you'll see. Yomawari Lost in the Dark employs all of its resources to create a terrifying horror puzzle game that is also enjoyable to play. It has a lot of scary moments and a surprisingly good story. This should be enough to keep players interested even when the game's power begins to wane. Yomawari Lost in the Dark appears to be a lot of fun, and it is. It will undoubtedly become a horror fan favorite. Next is Disgaea 1 Complete. Disgaea 1 is the least likely to be overwhelming for those who aren't used to tactical JRPGs or games with complex systems. As a result, this remaster is an excellent starting point for newcomers, and anyone interested in the history and background of Nippon Ichi's most well-known franchise will enjoy it as well. Disgaea 1 Complete is a fantastic remake of 2003's uncompromisingly unique JRPG breakout hit Disgaea. You'll be busy for a long time because there are so many dungeons and enemies to fight. Battles, on the other hand, are unforgettable. Overall, Disgaea 1 Complete is a good reminder of what made the series a cult hit that is still going strong strong today, but the recent release of new Disgaea, which has more features and a more modern look, puts it up against stiff competition. Even if you've already seen the previous games or want to see them for the first or fourth time, there's plenty to enjoy in this classic re-release. Next up, Guacamelee Super Turbo Championship Edition. Guacamelee is a well-crafted game that borrows and improves on ideas from sort of the best games available. If you haven't played Guacamelee Super Turbo Championship Edition yet, the Nintendo Switch is most likely the best way to do so. A good Metroidvania with many references to some of Nintendo's best games is currently on sale for a reasonable price. When you reach the final level, simply listen for a specific tune that is woven into the music. It has a cool underground 1-2 beat that you won't hear anywhere else. Guacamelee Super Turbo Championship Edition is a re-release of this classic indie game that is still as amusing as ever. The only drawback is that you can play the game's popular multiplayer mode with just the Joy-Con. Next is Disgaea 4 Complete Plus. Disgaea 4 Complete Plus is not only the best version of an already excellent game, but it is also an adventure with a wealth of content that will keep you occupied for hundreds of hours and contains everything a must-have strategy game requires. If you enjoy the slow pace and humor of Japanese culture, you will enjoy this game. I had no idea Disgaea 4 Complete Plus would be so entertaining. The story did not particularly impress me, but the funny lines and excellent cast more than compensated. It's still a highly addictive game with a ton of content and numerous endings. If you've already spent a significant amount of time on the Vita version, you may not see the point in getting the Complete Plus, but this is the definitive release of one HL of an SRPG. Next up, Yomawari The Long Night Collection. Yomawari The Long Night Collection is a collection of 2 horror games that have nothing in common in terms of plot but has a lot of terms of how they work and how they're played, and this is definitely a plus because both games have interesting environments that are full of details that make them even more appealing. Players will feel as if they are right in the middle of this frightening adventure, making the Nintendo Switch more appealing to horror fans. People say you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, and Yomawari The Long Night Collection is no exception. At first glance, you might expect something more family-friendly, but you'll be met with a slew of terrifying surprises. Behind the cuteness of the main characters are 2 frightening games filled with strange and grotesque monsters. Each game moves at a slower pace because exploring is more important than fighting, but this adds to the sense of being alone and helpless as you try to figure out what's going on in the dark streets. And last but not the least, The Cruel King and the Great Hero. It has a beautiful soundtrack, a changing world and characters, and fun turn-based battles that combine action and a few puzzles. It's probably the only game for which I've wanted to give a standing ovation. I had tears in my eyes as the credits rolled. The Cruel King and the Great Hero is a fantastic game because it gets so many details right. It tells the story of a brave young girl who, with the help of her dragon father, follows her heart and dreams. Despite not adding anything new to the traditional JRPG gameplay, The Cruel King and the Great Hero is a must-play for anyone who enjoys cute stories and interesting fairy tales. The only cruel aspect of the game is how entertaining it is. The Cruel King and the Great Hero is a touching adventure game told in the style of a children's storybook. Follow you as she strives to be a hero like her father. Her story is always charming and fun, whether she's helping the monsters in her kingdom, doing good for the people around her, or fighting enemies to keep her kingdom safe. That is all guys, I hope this video was helpful in deciding which game to play, and thank you for checking out the list. Please remember to subscribe and we'll see you at the next one.